which is a biographical sketch of a young Vietnamese girl, taking her from 16 through abuse by the French and Americans and Viet Cong and South Vietnamese Army, and her life really gets trashed by all four of those groups. She eventually winds up marrying an American, coming to the States, and there are some very poignant moments in that film which really had an impact on me. The contrast with what she had versus the wealth and the abundance of America is very well made in that film. Likewise, the impassioned words of her brother, who she meets for the first time after 15 or 20 years when she returns to Vietnam with her now growing up American sons, hearing his viewpoint and the tragedy of his life is, again, very well done by the movie.
Well, that seems like an interesting movie. You see, right, Alexis?
For a modest fee, I can loan you the movie.
You even own the movie.
Great.
That's great.
Watch it in class. Can you tell us your rank while you were in the war?
Yes, I was a captain.
You were
Captain.
I went over there as a second lieutenant. I was promoted first lieutenant in country, and I received captain after I had departed. So I was in Vietnam. I was a platoon commander, subsequently a company executive officer. We had a bunch of first lieutenants come in, so I was an assistant executive officer for a company, and a company has about 200 men. A rifle platoon, which I commanded, has anywhere from 40 to 60, depending on people coming and going either through rotation or through getting dinged. After I became an assistant company executive officer, that was sort of a nothing position. Another young gentleman got blown away, so I said, hey, can I have his platoon? And indeed I went back to platoon commander for a while. And then I extended in country so I could be with my girlfriend, University of Florida, who is an Army nurse in training. And I spent an extension leave with her in the States, a memorable experience. And she went into Vietnam a week before I departed, and then I got held up in Okinawa for a week undergoing, I think I had a mine school or such, and I came in, and she had gone to the 95th Evac Hospital in Da Nang, and I had extended to be with the Air Wing in Da Nang, which was 5 miles down the road, so we'd be able to see each other once or twice a week, maybe with a little bit of luck. And so I quickly got on the phone, and I said, hey, 95th Evac, where's my girlfriend? And they said, hey, young Marine officer, she got an ear infection, so we medevacked her to Camp Zama in Japan. I said, well, that's a hell of a note. And so our budding romance was one of the later casualties of the Vietnam conflict. She wound up getting stationed in Fort Ord, California. I wound up in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. The country was between us, and some experiences also. It is though the Vietnam experience is like a prism of light, and we both went in together parallel, but when we came out, it was a little bit different. She had gone
Parted
through training.
ways.
She'd gone through training in California, and as you know, the United States is on a tilt. All the loose screws rolled to California, and I felt she was somewhat tainted by the California lifestyle, freer, more relaxed, and I was much more of the traditionalist.
Oh. You didn't believe in the long-distance relationships, huh?
It had its drawbacks.
Okay. Do you remember the first day that you were stationed out of the country after you had gone through basic training? Do you remember that day when you arrived and your first thought? What was your first thought? Do you remember?
It was my first thought 24 hours after I'd left the United States was, wow, will this airplane ride never finish? Because it's a long way to the Pacific. I remember we went into Okinawa, and we had probably 110 Marine Corps infantry second lieutenants on the same plane, which seemed to me like an awful lot of eggs in one basket. The Marine Corps would have had some difficult times had the whole plane gone down from engine failure or such. we had landed in Okinawa, and they said, "Yep, you're going to be sitting here for at least 3 days. Do what you want." The guys went off into town and partied and relaxed, and no sooner had they gone than whoop, there's a word change. We're going to take 95 of you into country right now, tonight. And so people are hurrying back, and guys are going to the bars to try to retrieve their buddies. And they started calling out names, and of course, if the fellow wasn't there, he couldn't go on the airplane. So they were filling 95 seats from about 108 guys. And I remember one of the guys that was being left behind, it was so emotionally traumatizing for him to be stuck there in Okinawa for the next 3 days that he got on his hands and knees and said, "Oh, please, won't one of you guys change places with me so I can go into Vietnam right now?" And one of my friends stepped forward and most graciously put his hand on his chest and said, "Who am I to stand in the way of fervent patriotism like this?" And indeed, they swapped places. And we went into country that night. The next morning, at 6 in the morning, an aircraft arrived with everyone that had not come in the night before. So the difference was about 8 hours.
8 hours.
And we were sitting on packing crates as the other guys come in, and we looked at them. "Hey, look at the new guys. Boots, yes, we're veterans. We've been here 8 hours.
8 hours.
And we sneered contemptuously at them.
Was that a joke that you brought up every once in a while, just to joke around?
It came naturally. I remember when we got in that night, we were put in a large open-air barracks. Imagine a 2-story wood frame building with double-deck bunks on either side. It could accommodate probably 40 on the side. And I remember I was impressed with the sheet that was green with a khaki camouflage to it. And it was only after I looked at it a little bit that I realized that the khaki was dust and dirt. It was not camouflage at all. It was merely unwashed. I was and am a fairly fastidious person. I typically bounce up in the morning and take a shower. Such facilities were not available to us. We slept in the clothes we flew in on, and there you have it. It was a transition that comes much like for Huck Finn, as he describes in the book by that name by Mark Twain. He says, "Yeah, and the widow Johnson made me wash, and pretty soon I started getting to like it, but then Pat came back and took me back into the backwoods, and I started not bathing, and soon scratching was the natural way of life, and he acclimatized himself to being filthy dirty all the time without too much emotional trauma."
Did you adapt to that
Of
well
course.
enough?
Although one of the benefits of the experience, I remember coming back from the field and getting in a hot shower, and it was a basis for giggling and laughing. And I was alone, but it was just such a wonderful, orgasmic experience to take a hot shower, as opposed to trying to bathe out of a helmet in a muddy stream. And indeed, there were shower facilities. They pump water out of the river and run it through some chemical process and then squirt it through the showers. And it was a lukewarm shower. It's okay. But the Vietnam experience did teach me to appreciate those good things in life which we do have. I was outside once, and it started to rain as I stood under the bamboo shoots that are out the window here. And my number 2 son said, "Dad, why are you standing out here? It's starting to rain." And I said, "You're such a bright guy. You tell me." And he answered it. He said, "Because you can come in and get dry." And I said, yes. The thought of standing here underneath the bamboo 25 years after the Vietnam experience, I can still stand here and get wet and just be thrilled inside to know that I can go inside, take a warm shower if I want, towel off, put on dry clothes. It's really cool to be able to do stuff like that.